Chabahar Port, situated in the Gulf of Oman in southeastern Iran, is the only Iranian port with direct access to the sea. It serves as a strategic gateway for trade between India, Iran, Afghanistan and Central Asian countries. The port comprises two sections, Shahid Kalantari and Shahid Beheshti. India Ports Global Limited manages operations at Shahid Beheshti Port. Now, the development of Chabahar Port began with an agreement between India and Iran in 2003, with significant progress following Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Iran in 2016, the first by an Indian Prime Minister in 15 years. By 2019, goods from Afghanistan reached India via Chabahar, bypassing Pakistan. This port is envisioned as a key hub connecting India to Central Asia and Afghanistan.
Under Modi's leadership, the momentous agreement that began on 23rd of May 2016 is culminating today in a long-term contract, symbolizing the enduring trust and deepening partnership between India and Iran.
India signed a 10-year contract with Iran on May 13 to develop and operate the Iranian port of Chabahar. US sanctions on Iran, however, had slowed the port's development. The long-term deal was signed between Indian Ports Global Limited, that's IPGL, and the Port and Maritime Organization of Iran. IPGL will invest about $120 million, while there will be an additional $250 million in financing, bringing the contract's value to $370 million. For Chabahar Port to realize its full potential, it needs to be integrated into the International North-South Transport Corridor, the INSTC. That's a 7,200-kilometer network of ships, rail and road transport aimed at facilitating trade between India, Iran, Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Russia, Central Asia and Europe. This corridor will streamline India's access to Europe and enhance trade prospects for Iran and Russia. The then President Ibrahim Raisi and his Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian, they had facilitated the signing of the agreement. India's External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar highlighted the significance of the Chabahar Port agreement, emphasizing India's benefit and the broader connectivity shift.
You know, we've been trying for almost 20 years now to have an agreement with Iran. We could have like a short-term agreement because there were a lot of problems on their side. But actually, in recent months, thanks to, in fact, the two people who unfortunately died yesterday in the helicopter crash, the President of Iran and the Foreign Minister of Iran, because of their interest and their initiative, we were actually able to finalize a long-term agreement. This is very important because if you look, you know, today, one of the big things in the world is how do you make connectivity corridors?
Chabahar Port also plays a strategic role for India in countering China's influence in the Arabian Sea, particularly through the development of Gwadar Port in Pakistan, which is only 400 kilometers away by road and about 100 kilometers by sea. India's involvement in Chabahar is essential for maintaining a strategic balance in the region and fostering historic ties with Iran. The port enables India to bypass Pakistan for trade with Afghanistan and Central Asia, opening access to significant markets for oil and gas. Strategically, India's presence near Gwadar Port is crucial as Pakistan has previously hindered Indian trade routes to Afghanistan. For Afghanistan, Chabahar reduces dependency on Pakistan and expands its trade opportunities. A total of 2.5 million tons of wheat and 2,000 tons of pulses have been shipped from India to Afghanistan through Chabahar Port.
Minister Rajarpas and I will closely monitor the development of the port and continue to remain in contact with each other as we jointly benefit from the enormous potential of Chabahar Port for enhancing regional connectivity and prosperity.
China's development of Gwadar Port as part of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, poses challenges to India. Gwadar is part of China's broader Belt and Road Initiative, aimed at enhancing its maritime presence. Gwadar Port in Pakistan's Balochistan province is operated by China Overseas Port Holding Company, as part of the Maritime Silk Road and the One Belt, One Road initiative. The 2,292-acre site for the Gwadar Special Economic Zone, adjacent to the port, was leased to a Chinese company for 43 years, with construction commencing in June 2016. India's strategic response to the development of the Gwadar Port was the enhancement of Chabahar Port, situated just 76 nautical miles from Gwadar. India has committed to investing in the Chabahar Special Economic Zone through a Memorandum of Understanding and is actively developing the Chabahar Hajigak corridor. The Afghan government has awarded the contract for the Hajigak iron and steel project to Indian firms. Iran also views the development of Gwadar as a competitive threat to Chabahar. India is concerned about China's strategy of encircling it with a string of pearls, with Gwadar being a significant element of this strategy. The expansion of Gwadar Port poses a threat to India's naval security in the Arabian Sea and its energy imports through the Gulf of Oman. Additionally, the project's proximity to volatile regions such as Balochistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir could facilitate militancy and terrorism, further exacerbating security threats. Given Pakistan's close ties with China, particularly regarding foreign policy towards India, tensions could worsen, leading to potential political crises. In the event of hostilities, however, India might seek to disrupt Chinese imports crossing the Strait of Hormuz. Now, despite its strategic ambitions, Gwadar Port has struggled to meet its potential. With an annual designed capacity of 137,000 TEU for containerized cargo and 868,000 tons for general and bulk cargo, the port remains largely underutilized, having received only 7 container ships in 2019. The China-Pakistan economic corridor has been hampered by political and economic instability within Pakistan, which has faced severe economic crises in recent years, further constraining the effectiveness of CPEC and Gwadar Port. In contrast, Chabahar Port, supported by the INSTC, promises to reduce import costs for India by 30% compared to the Mediterranean Suez route, and also facilitates the transport of natural gas from Central Asia to India, highlighting its economic and strategic value for India and the broader region. The colorful hues you see on the screen are the time-lapse videos of the night sky people witnessed in different parts of the world earlier this month. These were stunning auroras that painted the skies in pink, green and purple on the night of May 10 and 11. The auroras were clearly visible with the naked eye. People even captured the night sky on their phones. Now, what are auroras? Auroras are bright and colorful lights. These are generally observed in areas near the poles. At the North Pole, it's called the Aurora Borealis, or the Northern Lights. And at the South Pole, it's called the Aurora Australis, or the Southern Lights. But what makes this happen? Well, they happen because of solar winds sending charged particles into space, which then get caught up in the Earth's magnetic field. These particles then collide with atoms in our atmosphere, releasing energy in the form of light. The interesting fact is that the color we see depends on what type of gas is involved in the collision and how high up it happens. But why were auroras observed across many regions this time? According to the American Space Agency NASA, May 2024 is already turning out to be a super stormy month for the sun. The first week of May saw a barrage of massive solar flares and coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, sending charged particles and magnetic fields hurtling towards the Earth, creating the strongest solar storm to hit our planet in 2 decades, and possibly one of the most incredible aurora displays on record in the past 500 years. The CMEs traveled in waves, reaching Earth starting May 10 and sparked a long-lasting geomagnetic storm that reached a G5 rating, the highest level on scale. That's a big deal, since we haven't seen a storm this intense since 2003, when a severe geomagnetic storm caused power outages in Sweden and damaged transformers in South Africa. When the storm finally hit Earth, it put on a breathtaking light show. Auroras were visible all around the world, and the best part? They were even spotted in places that don't usually get to see them, like the southern United States and northern India. What are the potential impacts of solar storms? Solar storms can trigger blackouts on the Earth, knock out satellites in space, put astronauts' lives in danger, and affect space weather throughout the solar system. See this World Economic Forum report. The solar storm caused disruptions to power grids, broadband technology, and GPS satellites in space. The solar region responsible for the recent stormy weather is now rotating to the other side of the sun, where its impacts can no longer reach Earth. However, that doesn't mean the storm is over as yet. Snakes have slithered their way into the mythologies of cultures worldwide, reflecting the duality of human nature, both feared and revered. From the coiled serpent of ancient Egypt to the Chinese dragon, the Korean Yongwang, and the Buddhist Naga legends, snakes have left their mark across various belief systems. Lord Shiva, one of the most revered deities in Hinduism, is often depicted with a snake coiled round his neck. Do you know the name of the snake? The mighty serpent is known as Vasuki. Now, what's the mythological relevance of Vasuki? According to Hindu mythology, Vasuki was used as a rope by Lord Shiva and the gods to churn the ocean and extract the Amrit during Samudra Manthan. Impressed by Vasuki's strength and endurance, Lord Shiva blessed the serpent to become the king of snakes. Ever since, Vasuki became a loyal companion to Lord Shiva and is often depicted coiled around his neck. And here mythology meets science. Scientists at the Indian Institute of Technology have made a fascinating discovery: fossils of one of the largest snakes to have ever existed on our planet. The fossils were found in Kutch in the western Indian state of Gujarat. Researchers found 27 pieces of a vertebral column of the snake at the Panandro coal mine in Kutch. And guess what? The scientists named the reptile Vasuki indicus. The name Vasuki refers to the mythical snake associated with Lord Shiva. The interesting fact is that the fossil was found back in 2005 and was thought to be from a massive crocodile for all these years. But it has turned out to be one of the largest snakes that ever existed on Earth, and believed to be longer than the T-Rex, the famous dinosaur. This massive serpent likely lived around 47 million years ago during the Middle Eocene period, when the Earth was vastly different from what we know it today. Back then, Africa, India, and South America were all part of a single supercontinent called Gondwana land. With this finding, experts estimate that this snake could have been anywhere between 11 meters to 15 meters long. It means that they could be as big as a modern-day school bus. Researchers estimate Vasuki's body was about 17 inches wide as well. That's pretty massive. However, the scientists didn't find its skull, so we don't know what the head looked like. Scientists think the snake would have looked a lot like a large python that you see today, and would not have been venomous. Like modern pythons and anacondas, Vasuki indicus killed its prey by wrapping its body around them and suffocating them. The scientists aren't sure what Vasuki used to eat, but given its massive size, it's likely it fed on crocodiles. The excavation site also yielded fossils of crocodilians, turtles, fish, and even ancient whales. It's fascinating to imagine what this ecosystem looked like millions of years ago. Researchers say Vasuki was a member of the Matsoidae snake family and appeared roughly 90 million years ago. This was a dominant snake family during the dinosaur age's latter stages, but went extinct about 12,000 years ago. Vasuki is comparable in size to another massive prehistoric snake called the Titanoboa. Titanoboa is actually the longest snake species we have known. Its fossils were found in a coal mine in Colombia back in 2009. Titanoboa lived 60 million years ago and is estimated at 13 meters long and more than 1 ton it weighed. Can you believe it weighed more than a car? Now, snakes are an essential component of our ecosystem, and Vasuki's story reminds us that reptiles once dominated the earth. Although these giant creatures are lost in time, the future of their modern-day variants hangs in the balance. Here, the story of Anna Julia is a stark reminder of the threats that biodiversity faces. Remember Anna Julia, the giant green anaconda discovered in the jungles of the Amazon earlier this year. But its fate was something else. Anna Julia was shot dead by hunters just a few weeks after its discovery. Let Vasuki's tale inspire us to protect the amazing creatures we share this planet with. Who knows? Maybe there are many more incredible giants waiting to be discovered. Well, that's all we have in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you next week with more raging issues that touch our lives and imagination. This is Mark Lynn signing off. Goodbye for now, and from all of us here in the Delhi newsroom, take care. Namaskar.